Welcome to the Electric Theatre.
Hey, Clown, how you doing?
Hey, man, how are you?
Not too bad. Just sitting here at my desk in my studio at home.
Where you, someone told me you're in Texas.
Yeah, I've been in Austin, Texas here for about 20 years. I grew up just north of Dallas in a little suburb called Plano. But, yeah, Austin's definitely the place to be if you're going to be in Texas. How about you? You're up in
I'm in Des Moines. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. I live in a suburb north, the most north suburb of Des Moines called Johnston, kind of by the lake and stuff. So it's a good place to be. A lot of wilderness, a lot of recreational, a little more private, you know.
There you go. Nice. You out there with Go ahead.
I love Austin, man. I love Austin. It's I haven't been there a million times, but you know, South by Southwest, and then going through a couple times when it wasn't so packed and stuff. Wonderful, wonderful city.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's gonna look a little bit different on the other side of this quarantine virus issue because a lot of the local businesses are barely holding on. So I'm a little worried some of the local flavor is going to go away. You know, by the time this all opens up again, only the big box stores will be able to survive this storm. But you know, we're holding in there.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Life can't be stopped, and money can't be stopped, and absolutely in no manner at all can humans be stopped. So local flavor may close down, but what's local flavor going to do? They're going to do what they do, and they're going to come back bigger and better and stronger. You know, I kind of tell people, I watched this special on Mount St. Helens blowing up, and it's just like this amazing, like, worldly thing, you know. We look at it as like, oh, this is a problem. It stops my day. Well, don't build your house by there. You know what I mean? So it's like the special that I watched was more or less how the world comes back stronger, how the forest there and even the animals, all of it comes back tenfold stronger. Because it's just what happens. It's we look at it as it being a negative thing. The world would never even know what the word negative means. So I try to think of that. This is such a devastating time for everyone in all realms, but I can only hope and imagine that everybody's going to come back stronger because that's what life does, you know.
I hope so. I hope it's like a little blip, and it's not like say nature always comes back, but there's no dinosaurs anymore, Clown. They're not walking around anymore. They got it real bad.
Yeah, but that was a rock, man. It was quick. It was bang, boom, out. You know, lights out. Rock hits, no sun. Everybody's done. Only the people live. Only the things underwater surviving, and we still have some of them today. So life's going to find a way, man. And unfortunately, you know, I don't know if it's a blip either. You know, it's been 4 months now, so I think it's past a blip. And you know, it's a weird thing, man. I try not to focus on it too much because it's so heavy on all of our lives, and I don't know if any of us can understand the neighbor, you know, the person next door, what they're going through, or what someone they know. I have a wedding to go to this weekend, and you know, it's been a thing because venues have changed. There's rules that are being installed, you know, in stadiums or whatever. Right. You know, so it's weird. So, but anyway, that's that. Welcome to the Electric Theater.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it. Sorry to start on a down note there.
No, we're not on a down note. It's life. It's reality. It's my show here. If it is even a show, I don't even like to consider it a show. It's more or less what I'm doing is basically a couple people getting together, having a conversation because they can, not because they can't, because they can. And generally, what I like to do is I like to go where no one else thinks I'm going to go, because I've been doing what I've been doing professionally for 20 years, and I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of brilliant people, and very rarely do I get asked anything I want to talk about. So
Gotcha.
that's a big frustration for me, and I know it's a big frustration for artists. Not all people. But anyway, welcome. And I was thinking, so I always go with my gut instinct, and I got onto this subject last week with someone. We were talking about more or less fantasy and role-playing games and fantasy and these sorts of things. And I got into a conversation about my mother, and my mother was a sci-fi fanatic, just out of control. My mom could read the original copy of Dune in like some absurd amount of time, hour and a half, less than 3 hours, whatever. Read every word, no speed reading. My mom was just into that. And I grew up, so what I've been thinking about with you is that there's this interesting thing in my mind growing up that I've witnessed on every piece of anything in this world, but mainly in art. And it's just, it blows my mind that we don't understand it. And I want to talk to you about it. And what it is, so here I am, 5 years old, growing up, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. I start paying attention to my mom's books. They're everywhere. I mean, my mom's got shelving units made in different rooms to hold these books.
Nice.
All science fiction, all covers of chicks that are just sculpted, to say the least.
Yeah, like old school Frazetta or Boris Vallejo art.
Yes. So what I want to talk about is how art moves so quickly from sort of a mixture. I want to call it a mixture. So you take the 70s and you take someone who is going to show you science fiction on a cover of a book, and they display it away. And then the 80s come, and it's got a little bit different and changes, just like a hairstyle, just like fashion, just like cars, just like anything. My question is, a lot of this crazy art from back in the day, popular science, comic books. Remember when comic books had the ads in the back, like X-ray eyes and shock someone's hand, and the way that stuff was drawn, the way that stuff was looked to get the human mind interested. Everything was real strict, real straight. Everything had a personality. Every drawing had a movement. And if they were selling bubblegum, you somehow felt that the drawing was chewing bubblegum. They did so well. And I'm not saying we don't do it now, but art moves so quickly into style, and I don't ever see it coming back. I'll see commercials go back to familiarity. I'll see movies go back. I'll see all sorts of art forms go back and touch on the past. But in illustration, okay, I don't see the next person doing the heavy metal art, like literally doing it with those colors, with those lines, with those ideas. They're doing it, but it looks absolutely nothing like it. They're using computers. They're using fillers, colors, not all illustrators. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying either is better, by the way. I like it all. I love it all. So there's no better for me. There's different. I just want to talk to you about different. And you being an illustrator, you have to be a fan of something from an era long ago. And you must incorporate a lot of what you love in what you do. But why don't you do exactly what they did? Is it a human feeling? of course it's originality, and humans are all their own person. Am I kind of making sense about the evolution of it and how we don't go back and require it?
I think what you're getting at is we're all influenced by the things we were into when we were younger. You know, I'm sure you have your musical heroes, your art heroes that you idolized when you were a kid. And for me, with my art, growing up, I was really into comics. I'm still really into comics. I'm at the comic book store a couple times a month buying new comic books. And when I was a kid, I'll never forget, my dad brought home a couple issues of this comic book called Hard Boiled, which was written by Frank Miller and drawn by Jeff Darrow. And I had been reading comics for a few years at that point, but the artwork in this comic and Hard Boiled was so infinitely intricate and exciting and kinetic, and it just lit my little brain on fire. You know, I was probably 12 at the time, and I'd been drawing for a while. I just said, this is what I like. And so, I grew up influenced by that. So as time goes by and I get contacted by these bands like Failure or Metallica to do their tour posters, and I don't know if your audience knows what I particularly do, but I own a silkscreen print shop here in Austin, and we print posters for bands, and they hire us to hire other illustrators and myself for my own talent. And just kind of taking that influence into the world of the rock poster, for me, it was really novel and fun to do. But that's my influences. And the kids, in my early 20s, I was managing a small chain of comic book stores before I was a professional artist. And we had all these younger kids coming in buying manga books, these big collections of Japanese comic books. And so those kids now are all adults, and a lot of them are professional illustrators. And you can see where their influences are coming from. It's all the comics in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I don't know, it's just we're constantly standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before us. And we're always influenced by, the world around us. No man is an island, especially when it comes to artistic style. So even though you might think an artist is completely original in thought and execution, they have their own set of influences that might be too obscure for you to know about, but that's informing everything they do. So, does that make sense? Does that track for you as well?
Oh, I completely agree, because one way or another, it's coming from Rembrandt or, Goya or something, it's coming, everyone's influences are coming from anything that is the imprint from our child's eyes into our brain moving forward. So, yeah, the obscurity of where it's coming from. And I agree, and I know that there's an evolution. My frustration is that no one requires the past. Like in illustration specifically, I'm trying to talk about, because familiarity in art is pleasant. Like in music, if I'm working on a chorus or something, and it's something I'm working on, I may go, there's some familiar notes to this similar to another organization, right? So familiarity, I think, in art is fantastic, because it's like it's a starting point for the human mind to grab a hold of, especially if it's something new, but it has a little familiarity. It helps you dive into it a little better, in my opinion. But I just wonder, I want to get my hands on art by people today mastering the way things felt with their own flair, the way things were yesteryear. I get fascinated with this because I do Polaroid, and there's, today's Polaroid, if you can find it, different brands, these things, different chemicals, because a lot of chemicals are illegal to manufacture. Some chemicals in the actual process aren't even on Earth anymore. So there are those things that move us in ways that we can't control. I can't get this certain yellow, so I can't be inspired by this artist because he mastered this yellow, and now I can't get my hands on it. So there are those things, but I just wonder why we as artists don't need to fulfill what pole vault us in the first place.
Well, I guess part of the issue with, styles evolving and why, so much has changed, especially, in your business with, album cover art and all that. And I mean, so much of it has to be approved by committee that everybody wants to do something that's safe to get the most eyes on something, just because there's so much money and risk involved and, just producing an album now, that I feel like some art directors get scared, or, the clients or the suits or the money gets worried about anything being too weird or stand out or feel too much like a throwback. And I think it's a shame, because when you think of the old metal albums from when you were a kid, I'm sure, a teenager, just the artwork comes screaming off the page at you. The guy Skinner did all that amazing stuff from Metallica back in the day, and you're just like, yeah, this stuff's rad. You think of that Appetite for Destruction cover and how it's just, it looks so weird and evil and sick when you're a kid, and you're like, it almost feels scary and challenging, and I kind of like that. And it's hard. Part of it might be that we're older now. I'm 43. I guess you just turned 50, right?
Yep.
So maybe we've seen it. We've seen a lot of it, and it's harder for us to get that kind of bump, that juice, when we see a piece of artwork, because we've seen so much of it. And I think the trick is looking at things like we did when we were kids again, with fresh eyes, and trying to get inspired that way. I don't know.
That's what I do. I mean, when I create, I don't go buy music anymore because it's horrible. There are so many horrible bands, in my opinion, and there's so much horrible artwork. It's only my opinion. And I say horrible because the suits are involved, and the suits can say words like throwback. That disgusts me. Like when you just said
Sure.
that, I got ill.
I'm sorry.
And I also laugh because I've always been my own committee, man. Slipknot is its own committee. We don't ask permission, never have, never will. We do everything ourselves. We don't get scared, like you were saying, and that makes me physically ill, because that is what's going on. You got some, I call them smart shoes. You got some smart shoes asshole who's going to wear some shoes that work for artists and the suits. Like they're smart shoes. They think they can fly in between both parties and navigate their bosses and their people they work with, and navigate through an artist's mind, because they got to make it safe. They can't have a throwback. There's a committee. They need to put dollar signs. They need to move forward. It's hilarious, because if you go on any of the circuits and just look at the plethora of art from music and album covers together on a flat screen on some pulpit of selling music, and you look at it, it looks like going into a convenience store and seeing all the flavors of pop. I mean, look at when you go into a convenience store. They're stacking liquid from the floor to the ceiling. It's all the same color liquid: green, clear, brown, blue, purple, red. But it's all packaged different. And your eye, you're like, for me, I'm like Pepsi. Familiar. I love it. Screw all this other garbage, right? Why don't we do that with art? I used to buy albums from the age of 12 to 21. I would buy albums because I would go to record stores and plow through bins of albums, and I would have a stack of what I needed to get and what I wanted to get, but then there was always that what's next. I didn't have the internet shoving me algorithms. I just say a word and boop, there it is in my face. I don't know if the corporate worlds know that when they give me what I want quicker, I stop wanting it quicker. So like I'm just out. So it's like when you brought that up, just to see it irritates me. I'm like, wow, bands have committees. Bands have art directors that are, you can't use the word scared and have a title like art director. That makes me sick to my stomach. So I'm sitting here, and I guess I'm getting wound up because I'm thinking about all the garbage I see in front of me, and that's exactly what it is. It's not necessarily the band. The band wants to live a dream. The band gets a deal. They think it's a label. It's really a bank. It's a facade. It's a lie right from the beginning. But you do sign a deal to sell albums. So, shut up and let them sell albums. But you have to have a spine and know your vision. And maybe a lot of bands don't. I don't know. I don't know how many artists really want to take over their artistic vision in all facets, album cover, lyrics, stuff.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's the issue. I find I work with a lot of artists. So, I mean, I started out, drawing and painting just local coffee shop shows here in Austin. And then, I built a business, and now, we have a shop and employees and clients, and it just took off from there. So I did it all myself, but, it's rare to find an artist that is both an artist and a business person that has their head about them to where they can protect their own artistic integrity and their financial best interests and still deliver an amazing expression of, music, art, literature. I mean, you're right though. It's a racket in many ways, because I've had friends who, they sign deals, go out on tour, and they come back from playing sold out shows owing the label more than they made on the tour. They're essentially working for the company's store at that point. And it's not good. And it makes people scared to take risks because they're so financially on the hook. And it's just the death of art in many ways, in my opinion. And that's why, I like working with the clients we get. And every once in a while, there's a client that just won't trust our vision, and it just takes the life out of the project. And it's very unfortunate. But then sometimes you get people, not to bring them up again, but, Metallica has been an amazing client because their art direction is essentially put some skulls and shit on there and make it look rad. And we're like, we can absolutely do that. That sounds fun. That sounds metal. That sounds great. And, I'm really proud of all the work we did with them. There's other bands that we've done work with, and I'm just like, that was a nightmare, and I never want to work for them again. But the client's happy, even if I'm not. I got a mortgage and kids, so be it. Like, the money's green. But it's not as artistically rewarding as it should be. I think the problem is always capitalism. I think is everybody's got to make money off their art, so then they kind of angle it towards the middle of the road where they can make sure they sell it. And it's just, it can be very disheartening, but then you see amazing stuff. Mm-hmm.
I guess I wonder, why do you have to make money on art? I don't, it's such a crazy world, art, the way you're bringing it up. And you're right, man. It's, I want to stop it. That's been my goal. That's been my nightmare my whole career, is that I live for art, whatever. And that's a really bullshit word to me anymore because I drop it so much, and I don't even know if people understand what I'm talking about when they use that word. It's like they start using it like the word yes, and it's like, wait a minute, don't Obi-Wan Kenobi me, so art's pretty out there, and it's my whole life, and I just can't stand, how organized the world of music is, and the whole idea of buying individual songs, and we're just getting further and further away. We'll go in, we'll spend a bunch of money recording an album, and I'll sit in a room for months and months and months listening to it in high def, just listening to it like we record it, just in just the best way. And then we'll go get it mixed and spend a bunch of money, and we'll go get it mastered and spend a bunch of money. Then we'll hand it over to some pathetic place that will put their own Kodak on it and not even tell us about it and tell us what it is in case we want to correct it. And it's all made to save space. It's all made so the plethora of the catalog can be put up and we can save space. Because if we do high def, it's going to cost more, it's going to take more space. And if we go low def, we can get 10 to 1, Well, guess what? I'm not buying any of it. And the new kids that are being born in the world, maybe they are. Congratulations, all people of the world that made the new world for money. We're all going to die, and we left nothing but bullshit. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at things right now, and I'm looking at 50 album covers right now, and not one of them is original. Not one of them is anything that is worth investigating in. And it's like you said, they're worried about throwbacks. They're worried about throwback, and they can't even come up with original ideas right now to help the world move forward. Do you find that a lot with you? I mean, do you have inspiration and then do it, and someone's like, no, too risky, too yesteryear, too misunderstood? Or are you required to play it more safe, and you're smart, and you know that, and you just play it? When I say safe, I just mean there is a business behind it. We do know.
Sure.
When I was coming into the business, there was practice standards and practices. I couldn't show a gun in a video. I couldn't point a gun at someone. And if I did point a gun at someone, I'd have to show that someone lived. Okay? So there were standards and practices, so I couldn't even bring certain ideas. I couldn't even bring them to the table because they weren't going to happen. So I know all about it. How do you bring things to the table?
Well, a lot of the stuff we do that I get hired for is generally low stakes in that it's a poster for a night for one show. And, maybe they want 3,000 or 4,000 copies of that poster if it's a stadium tour, but it's not going to define or ruin the band. So we do get, and that's why I like working in this niche, is because the stakes are lower, you can get more brave and do more weird ideas and fun stuff. And fun for me can sometimes be like just crazy shit. It's just, I should ask, we can curse on this podcast, right? I didn't even bother to ask.
100 fucking %.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I normally curse like a sailor, so I was trying to keep it clean.
It's all good.
But,
all good.
Amazing. So we have this creative space we can work in where, because the stakes are low, we can take risks. And if you get that unicorn client who will let you just run wild with something, you can turn into something really fun. Other times the client says, this is exactly what we want, or they have their very own strong art direction, which then you get to play in their world, which is fun. So we did some work for Muse, and they were like, well, this is the art direction. We want like this kind of 80s synth, crazy neon color. I was like, I know an artist that's going to be able to nail this, and he did, and it was great work. It was fun. But they're coming to you with an idea, and then you get to play in their playground. Other times, I like when people come to us and they say, we need you to build that playground for us. We want you to show us where you like to have fun and make it work for us. And, it's just exercising different muscles, different artistic parts of your brain that, it's so hard to say there's any one size fits all with this kind of problem artistically. But, man, it's so I did listen to quite a few episodes of this show to prepare for this interview because I want to know what you were about, what kind of stuff you do. But so you have been doing your own album covers for a while, though, right?
I did all of our album covers from the beginning, all of them.
Wow. So that's great. So you've been able to visually define the look of Slipknot since day one. Like it's a giant band, Yeah,
like
that's amazing.
It's no one's right to do that. It's our right. It's in anyone that knows us from the very beginning, they will tell you that. I'm not proud of the way I acted when I was younger, the way I believed that I needed to act in order to get it done. But I'll tell you what, if I would have acted in any other way, it wouldn't have got done. Quick story. I was nice, and I accommodated the thought of, entertaining what people thought was professional for us. So we had some people turn in what they thought our first album cover could be, and we had already turned in and had it, and something that I worked on, the first album cover of us in my garage. That photo was taken by my mentor, Stefan Seskis, and he took that photo in complete darkness in like 15 minutes, walking around flashing what he wanted to see. So that photo is very, very artistic in technique and mindset. You have to stay the course. It's something he and I pre-pro'd for a while and talked about and looked and did tests and these sort of things. So anyway, I had turned that in. We had already had that. There were things that needed to be done to it because, that album cover's got a whole podcast just for itself. There are so many things going on with that album cover that people just don't know. So anyway, I entertained the idea because, you do want to navigate through everything correctly. And quite honestly, when I was navigating through, in the beginning, we were nobody. It was just a belief system on our half, and then the suits on the other half. And they wanted to, they really wanted to corral us. So anyway, I entertained it. Some things were handed in. I still have all those things that were handed in today, still, as a reminder that no one outside of our thought process is allowed to come in. Now, that's going to change as life goes on. As I meet people that understand, I have people all the time now doing artistic things for us that you see that they do on their own because they've worked with me. I've told them the score. We love art. They're good at it. We know what the brand is, and then I like their art. I love art. I love other artists. I don't like the committee. I don't like anybody who wants to bring up the word scared, especially in a label sense. If you're scared in a label and you're working with me, you're going to get eaten up and spit out. Right. So I still have all these black, little foam boards with potential album covers. And none of them, in my opinion, I'll throw them up. Let you look at them. You tell me what's the generation of Slipknot you want to grow up with. You tell me. And it won't be because it's what we presented to you. You'll get it right away. You'll be like, this is what they wanted to present and roll forward for them, because that's what they do, is take over and tell bands what to do, and all bands follow suit. They just follow suit because they want to be rock stars. They want to be on stage. They want this, all this mindset. So a lot of that they give into. And we all know this. And if you don't think you did, you do. You know what I'm saying? So I just never did and don't have to, because this is my life. And I think that's why when I was growing up, I read stories about Van Gogh, doing portraits to pay for bread and wine and rent. Never to buy fancy things, just to eat. So he'd get hired to do portraits of babies, and then the parents would be like, "This baby is absolutely ugly," and Van Gogh would look them right in their face and go, "Your baby is ugly." And that's what's up for me, man. That's what's up. That's art. You want me to paint your baby? I'll do it. Here it is. It is ugly. There it is. So that's art to me, is the realism of the output in one person's subconscious and another person's trust to, in consciousness, look at this thing brought out and accept it and maybe move it. That's what cars are. That's what condos are. That's what umbrellas are. It's everybody's idea of what we think we need, and it's really beautiful when we accept, it's like you said, appetite for destruction. The thing that you said that really turns me on is that it looks challenging. You wonder if you should get this. Should I get this? You know, is this going to fuck with me? Like, what are my parents going to say about this? What am I going to get judged for this? You know, is this somewhere I want to go? That's what it's about. That's what it's about. To me, anyway. Just to me, man. You know, so.
I mean, where I grew up, it was a pretty, conservative Christian area of Texas, and I remember, in the 80s, anything metal was just considered evil and scary, and it's like there's the whole satanic panic of the 80s, and, role-playing games are going to rot your mind, and, comic books are right on that bubble too, and it's that kind of, dangerous media, that idea of something being a dangerous album or a dangerous movie, it was just so appealing and, like, secret as a kid that it's hard to find that, like I said earlier, that bump again, that juice of like, oh no, what is this? What am I going to see? What am I going to hear if I buy this album and take it home? Is it going to, hypnotize me or something? Like that fear in consuming somebody else's artistic message is just so enthralling to me that, and I think comic books in particular are one of those rare mediums where you get the most unfiltered art, in that it's only a couple people working together. You got an artist or a writer, or sometimes the artist and the writer is the same person, and they get their vision out almost completely uncensored. And I think that's why that medium story appealed to me so much. Like that book, Hard Boiled, I got was just so violent and hyper real and sexual that, as like a 12-year-old, it just felt like, I'd killed God or something just by reading it. It was so disturbing, but exciting at the same time. That reminds me, there was something I did want to bring up. I did see that you were the director on the Officer Down movie. And
yes.
Officer Down definitely has its roots in Hard Boiled. So if you hadn't checked out Hard Boiled before, I highly recommend picking it up, because they're of the same kin. They're clearly pulling from the same ideas. I think you dig it. I think you dig it a lot.
I'll definitely check that out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's man. It just finding that kind of unfiltered rawness in storytelling and art and music. It seems to be harder now. It's funny with the internet. You have the world at your fingertips, all the media you could ever want to consume, but finding something that is truly revolutionary is almost harder, even though everything's available. And I don't know what's causing that. Again, it might just be, I'm a middle-aged man with children now, and it's like there's not many things more scary than having kids, so it's kind of hard to get as freaked out anymore. But it's fun to kind of chase that ideas and feelings you had when you were a kid.
Yeah, I like that. I try to open myself up to what my life has been, and recognize that I'm in a zone, and try to move forward in some familiar way, but more original as original can be, onto the moment. I definitely don't make scratch like I used to in theory, looking at it, but everything I do, I feel, is from it. And I feel like it's just some like trail in space. I feel like the boom happened here with me, and everything is like this space dust that you can follow the trail. I feel like that's where I'm going. I feel like everything I do is from where I've been, but it's different because, like you just said, I got kids too, man.
Right.
And it is scary. It's the worst and best thing ever, because it's the worst because no one really told you about it, and there's no manual. And when you have kids, you realize it is the most important thing on life, more than money, more than God, in my opinion, more than anything anyone wants to talk to me about. It's the ability to give life and nurture life and be there for reward and acknowledgement and these things, So I tend to make art more of the feeling of where I'm at with my family and my life and my frustrations and my loves, but I don't feel like I have that prodding iron that's just burning that I want to stick in people and it's left. I don't know. It's interesting how we ourselves as artists do change a lot too. I don't make a lot of aggressive stuff much right now because I just see too many people blatantly try to say things, and it's not interesting to me. And I don't know if it's interesting to anyone. It has to be because things sell and things are big, but I just see people blatantly trying to be disturbing on an album cover or trying to get something out of you. And I'm like, I can turn on the TV for 5 seconds and be more disgusted than this. You know what I mean? So
right. The news is pretty. The news itself is pretty horrifying. Yeah, that's a good point, man.
It's tough to be anything in this world right now. I've during this time I've talked about this a lot on my show. I've chose a lot to be manual. I'm just being as manual as I can, going out and just using my muscles and my knees and trying to remember what it's like to work and have to work. And I say that because I love what I do, so I don't feel like it's work, but I have things I need to do, like a couple dead trees need to get cut down. First the trees got to come down and saw it in rounds and split it in logs and stack it in cords and, wrap it. What else? It's like a lot of manual stuff is helping me get through, and it's also helping mix the temperatures and colors in my mind of new things, new ways and things that I want to display in the future. Have you guys, I'm not trying to get personal or whatever, but because music is kind of, like life, but touring and bands and things, people aren't touring at the moment on a grand scheme. Have you seen this? Have you felt this? I certainly have, because I've canceled like 3 things already. We're talking months stuff, weeks and months, and so have you felt this come into your life?
Yeah, we just did a big print run for the Lumineers. They commissioned me to do a poster for them. We printed out of my shop, and we shipped the last batch of 2,000 posters to them for a tour that's now never going to happen, or been delayed indefinitely. And, all our clients, nobody's touring. We produce Metallica's VIP tour poster series every year, and that's a big part of our business. We got employees and, health insurance we pay for, and, retirement accounts and for our employees and all that stuff. And it's a scary time, man. It's like you're saying, nothing's more scary than the news. Nightmare on Elm Street's cool, but have you seen my tax bill? It gets really real fast. We do a lot of business online with selling artwork. We work with, I was working with this artist, Bernie Wrightson, who is the co-creator of Swamp Thing, if you know that character, Swamp Thing. Yeah. So I was working with him before he passed. I'm still working with his wife, and his stuff sells very well. It keeps our lights on for both me and his widow there. And we worked with Frank Frazetta State on producing screen prints. He probably painted some of those fantasy and sci-fi novel covers that your mom had. So there's still plenty business for us to do. It's just we had to pivot because, we have to do a lot of conventions, comic conventions and art fairs, and those all are indefinitely postponed. So it's change or die time, like it's time to figure out the next thing because the old stuff isn't cutting it right now. But,
right.
I think also getting to spend a lot of time with.
That is a fascinating thing that's going on, is the challenge of all this, the human challenge to maneuver, in my opinion, what the problems we made for ourselves. We made all this. We made money a priority. We made all of it. We made it. And then so many people, this is just slapping. I mean, I canceled tours, so it's not like I'm trying to talk to you like, this is a thing. I'm hurting because I don't like to let down kids, our fans.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, I can't stand it. Like we, as a culture, I mean, I'm just like, I need to be with them. They need to be with me. I need to be with them because that's how we get through the week. It's how we get through the month. It's how we get through the year. It's how we get through life. It's why I chose to do what I do, is because I get to mix and mingle with the people I love, my culture, and I get to watch them, just bring it so they can go to work for the next month. They need it, and I need them. I need their energy. They need my energy. We're in it together. It's still my love, and now it's all getting canceled, and it feels like, wow, the things that are required aren't even going to be there. I'm not even thinking about all the politics or the monetary aspects or the business of it. I'm just thinking about the isolation everybody has and just how much most people aren't going out or won't this or won't that. And it's like, this is a big thing, man. But I think we're going to come back bigger than ever, man. I really do. I think we're just going to come out swinging. And one of the most interesting things is it's showing the limitations of our digital lives, in that early on people were like, oh, it's fine. We have social media. We have Zoom calls. We got all this stuff we can do to remain in touch. And that got real old after a month or two, where it's like, well, damn, man, I just really want to be in a crowded club with some people watching a band. I want to go to a bar and talk to some stranger and find out what their life is about. And all this stuff that just can't happen now, like the social media Zoom interaction, it was like methadone. It wasn't the real thing. It wasn't really getting you there. It's just like you need that physical proximity, because, like it or not, we are social creatures, and we need those like experiences of a music festival or a concert or even a gallery show, or just going to the damn grocery store without being afraid. And it's I don't know. It showed for me the limitations of what we were actually getting through social media. And if anything, I took that stuff off my phone since this pandemic started, because I was mainlining that stuff all day, because that was the only way to interact with people, and it just wasn't healthy. So yeah, well,
I do
that's
think
awesome. That's awesome that you recognize that, and I think everybody's recognizing that, including the morons who install it all, they keep it moving, because they got to pay their bills. I'm not pointing the finger at any one person. We're all humans here. No one's an alien. No one's a monster. We're all just humans making decisions. But even the humans making the money on that know it's not worth the shit. You know what I mean? So yeah. I do believe you're absolutely right. I do believe we're going to come out of it with a much lesser need of escaping into this world, because good luck. Okay, you've been in the pandemic for 4 months and you sat in your room on the internet driving yourself crazy with news and did nothing. Didn't knit that blanket you wanted to knit. Didn't paint the basement. Didn't even spend time with your kid that's in the next room on the internet. Like, wake up. So this is a crazy time for everybody, for everything. So
I have to be optimistic. I have to be optimistic because I have kids. I have to believe tomorrow is going to be better, or else what the fuck am I doing? We have to make this
absolutely
better on the other side.
Well, listen, I know I was weird with it, and see, art gets me going. So like the tone of this conversation may seem like a little aggressive and whatever, but everyone knows. Like I get angry when I get passionate and angry when we talk about art because it's all I live for and am part of it. So, this whole thing has been good because I don't normally get to go where I normally like to poke, I like to poke at everyone that's guilty. Why not? You're guilty of doing this. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to bring it up to the world, and you're going to be responsible for your responsibilities. So,
yeah.
But like you were just saying, and I was just saying, I mean, we're going to come back, man. It's that Mount St. Helens story. I'm telling you, people were just, it devastated. I mean, I remember in school them stopping class and pulling in a TV on a cart, showing the mountain blowing up. It stopped a lot of things back then. But the thing is if you watch the specials, the trees came back better, like the streams clean. Like it's just amazing to learn that like life is moving, man. It doesn't remember your movie. It doesn't remember the comic book. It doesn't remember my music. Life doesn't know. It just, the tree still grows, and one day it'll get knocked down, and another tree will, it's a wonderful thing we're all experiencing called life. But now we're starting to navigate through some more obscure ideas of it. It's pretty, to me, it's fascinating because we as people, as a life form, we have to adapt. We gotta move through this, and I think we will. I think everything is going to be great, like you said. I think we'll just figure it out. But it takes us, right? I mean, look, if we were all doing what we needed to do right now for it, there would be no problems. But there's still are problems. Every day I go on, it seems like the same things being said. Government's calling for, more stricter to do this. And it's because humans are going out and maybe taking their ideas upon themselves of what can be done and not. And I'm not sure which is right or which is wrong, but we're going to keep paying for this until we, as humans, take care of it. And taking care of it is abiding by whatever it is we need to abide by to make it go away. So
yeah, well, I mean, Japan figured it out. They got it worked out. So if we just do what they did, I think we'll be fine.
Well,
it's just
we're not going to be able to do what they did. And I'm going to tell you why.
Right.
Japan. We were talking about it last night. Japan is one of my favorite places on earth because of the people. They are probably some of the greatest people on the planet Earth. And I say this. I only say this because they work it together. Mm-hmm. They work it together, and if they don't like working it together, they won't let you know, because that's not part of it. They're not
Right.
You know what I mean? They're in it together. I first saw someone wearing a mask 20 years ago when I went to Japan, and I laughed at that person. I laughed at that person until the interpreter told me why they do that. And I was humbled. I was put on my knee, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm an idiot. I'm like, that's amazing. And she explained how they work so hard, and they can't afford to get other people sick because the cost of living is so much, and it's just like you cannot get other people sick. You can't do it.
Yeah.
People rely on having to work. And that's exactly what was told to me 20 years ago, 19 years ago, whatever. And that's what's going on. We have to do these sorts of things. But you're right. They do have it figured out. And it takes all of us, really actually coming together to really make a big move on this thing, I think. So,
yeah, we'll get there.
Anyway,
it's going to take some time.
We'll get there. Let's end on something different. Like, what's some of your favorite art in the world? Doesn't necessarily have to be an illustration or a comic book, but what do you love? What gets you off?
Oh man, I mean, you mentioned Dune earlier. It's funny. I'm looking at my it was a portfolio edition of Dune hardcover here, and it's just I don't know. I just love being able to explore a world created completely in somebody else's head space. It's so
right.
And you can like disappear into it, but you can learn about the world around you. And I don't know, like reading for me is like an empathy machine. It puts you in somebody else's shoes and experience the world through somebody else's viewpoint. And I find that to be, deeply rewarding. I feel like the world would be a better place if a lot more people read,
Yeah.
As far as like recent art, man, I'm a big comic book nerd, and, one of my favorite books has always been Watchmen. And when I heard that HBO show Watchmen was coming out, I was real nervous. It was like, there's no way they can ever touch the original. And I watched it, and I was floored by the quality and the places it took me and the different viewpoints, because, suddenly the lead character is a black woman, and that just changes the entire outlook of that universe, and how you could tell the writer's room is a very different and diverse place than the guys who made the comic. And it was such a it just felt different and more vital than a lot of film or TV I'd seen in a long time. Just kind of blew my mind. But gosh, as far as art goes, like just paintings, there's a painting of icebergs in the Dallas Museum of Art, and I could just disappear into that thing for hours. It's just this beautiful landscape without a touch of humanity in it, and you feel like you're on an alien world. Transports you. Love it.
That's yeah. I imagine that a lot of blues and whites and deep, stuff. I imagine that it's just breathtaking. Yeah,
lots of great greens in there, and it's just and I never know what's going to hit me. You just get caught by something. There was a piece I saw in New York at one of the museums there, and it was this beach scene. Somebody sitting under an umbrella, and they're just their foot sticking out of the umbrella as the sun's coming down, and just their big toe is illuminated by the light. And I remember as an artist just being stuck on that, like the choices made to have that shadow not cover the foot entirely, just have the foot stick out of the shadow, and just like, I don't know, it was such a wonderful little human touch that, unlike a photograph, it's somebody had to sit there and think about it and paint it and just make it happen. And that attention to detail just like really tickled me, just stuck with me. I was like, man, I love this painting because of that toe right there. Look at that toe. It's such a small detail, but just set my brain on fire for a couple hours.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. I've been really enjoying, like, I watch young hip hop, like just young generation of it, and just see how they're explaining their world around them. I think it's fascinating. I don't necessarily feel like they do, or anything, but I remember being younger, and remember my angst and the color I wanted to vibrate out, so I like to look at a lot of video right now because people can be expressive, and I think so much has been laid on the line in the last 20 years that people really have to try and dig deep, and sometimes you can stumble across some pretty fascinating concepts, so that's what I've been doing.
Absolutely.
Lately. Just a lot of film and a lot of video and short stuff, just genres that I normally would never even watch to just, check out. Well, what's the weather like down there right now?
Hot. It is hot. It's probably up around 98. Yeah.
Oh, that is hot. Yeah, we like the sun here. My wife and I, we're boat people, so we like the sun, but it hasn't got past 91, and it's only been a couple days. But 83 to 87 last month or whatever. But yeah, I love Texas, man. I spent a lot of time down in Dallas, and I toured, and been down to El Paso, been to McAllen. Been to all kinds of crazy places. Back in the old days when we'd tour, we would swear to God we were in another country because we'd do Texas for like 2 weeks, and it just didn't seem like we were ever leaving or getting anywhere because we were just in Texas forever, and it was like,
yeah.
But that's how I got to know it, and I love Texas, man. I love Texas.
Yeah, it's very flat. If you go out far enough west, it's just desert as far as you can see, and it's like being on the surface of Mars. And I just love it. It's just so strange and weird, and different biomes every 100 miles or so. It's just a lot of diversity and flora and fauna. I dig it.
Me too, man. Well, listen, I always tell everybody I'm going to definitely get back on the phone with you in the not so far future, just to pick up where we left off, and I know we'll pick up somewhere completely different. I was going to say before we go, just let the Luminaires know I'll buy one of those posters. They're
Nice.
They're now obscure rarities. They're literally. I mean, everyone goes on tour and sells posters, but no one goes on tour and cancels and has a poster that doesn't mean anything to me as an art collector and an art lover. I want one of those. I want one of those posters that never is going to come true because it's just got a different date on it. That will help me, so I'll take one of those. If they go to sell them, let them know. So that'd be definitely a prized possession there. So keep going, man. I hope things pick up, and it will, and keep your positiveness. And
yeah, we're going to be good, clown. And hey, I really am thankful and honored that you chose to talk to me today, because it was when I got the call email from your guy, and I was like, well, this is weird. I didn't ever imagine I'd be talking to Clown from Slipknot, and after listening to a few episodes, I was like, man, he's a good guy, and he's just looking for answers in this messed up world, and I could totally relate to that.
That's all it is, and really, honestly, I feel bad that, you're an artist, and a lot of people that I've talked to, they're all artists, in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But you and we got to I debated whether I wanted to bring up the suits and the left brainers. It's like I didn't know, because I don't want to get any artist mad, and I don't want to get like me, but I feel like I have it's a priority in my life to constantly be how I was for the newer generation. And if they can tune in and hear a little bit of my angst and frustration about what you said, and what you said is these people are scared and they're worried about the throwback. I mean, I want the new generation to hear that so they can stand on their own 2 feet when they're taking on these wannabe lions. You know what I mean? They're really hyenas.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to be strong. And you know what? If you believe in your art and you can convince them you believe in the art, they will stand by you. But not very many people believe in a vision enough to stand on their own 2 feet. And unfortunately, the suits that do it have to maneuver it. They got to get the return, man. So
yeah.
It is what it is. You can't have one without the other. And to be honest, I have a lot of label people that I love. You know what I mean? There's a lot of great people. My manager was my very first product manager. So we've been together in this career since day one. So no one knows my product better than this gentleman, because he had to deal with me, when I was nobody. And they were like, fuck you. I'm like, fuck you. And we did it. They believed in me, I believed in them, and we made it happen. So I don't want to sound like I just hate everybody. They know who they are. The people that are getting mad about me talking about it, they know who they are, and they know they're guilty. The rest of them, we're all good. But, yeah, man, hey, I'm going to check out your site. I don't usually go download everybody's life before I talk to them, because that's just not me.
Sure.
But now that we've talked, I'm going to go check it out, and we'll definitely have to do a poster together, man. Maybe you can do one for me for the Electric Theater, and I'll just tell you right now, you talked to me, you saw a little bit of what it was, you just answered it with, hey, he's just trying to get some answers. Make me an Electric Theater poster about that. You don't have to worry about dates, and we'll do a little thing together. So I'll go look at some stuff, and maybe I can think of something. We'll do a really intricate, rare, one-of-a-kind thing dedicated to Dune, Texas, glaciers, and I guess the Clown and Electric Theater. But we'll do something, all right?
Hey, Clown, totally into it. Thank you, sir, very much.
Hey, well, thank you, and keep it up, man. Keep slinging art. Keep taking care of people. Keep moving it, and keep doing what you're doing, man. Just understanding that we gotta motivate. So it was a pleasure, and next time we'll talk about sports or something. And you have a good day, man, and just keep going and enjoy your children. And we'll talk soon.
Same. All right, Clown. Thank you.